All right, just like that, we're live. Shane, welcome.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so we are just talking before we got started about Southern California weather, and this, particularly the San Diego area, and how amazing it is, normally. So today it's a little gloomy today.
Yeah, normally I would say January has been a wilder month than many Californians are used to, but probably not wild for the rest of the country.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so lifelong native of California, right?
Correct. So I grew up in San Diego in a suburb called Scripps Ranch, and it was like the a perfect Americana childhood. And then I've lived in Las Vegas briefly, but mostly lived in California.
Yeah. And we often get into, I say this in the last couple of podcasts, I'm talking to the entrepreneurs and the C levels. There's really interesting, common themes that run throughout. And so we'll see if these themes stay true. If you kind of hit the mold on some of these themes. But so take us back to the early California childhood days. I mean, what kind of student? What were you interested in? Take us way back.
Gosh, that's a haven't dove in this deep in a while. Um, I was a pretty good student, I'd say. Like I typically like I tried to do the least amount of work to get the highest grade. I'd say I was always obsessed with efficiency. I think that's when you start companies and things. That's why you do it because you're looking for efficiency and to help people. Um, I really liked math, so I went to UC Santa Barbara for my degree, and majored in economics, mathematics. Um, yeah, it was a really I would say excellent childhood. Like I every day is sunny and you're able to go do sports with your friends and just a great place to grow up.
Yeah. So yeah, making me jealous. Um, so you went to, you said UC Santa Barbara, and good experience there. What was the first job after college?
Let's see. So a lot of things. So while I was there, I did interns at like financial services firms. I really wanted to at the time like become the prototypical investment banker bro. But then I quickly found that was pretty incompatible with my personality. And
How
so
so?
I think a career like that, you've got to be very you're like a with respect to people that do that sort of career, you're like a dolphin jumping through hoops
Mhm.
consistently, and you're probably jumping through hoops for upwards of 20, 30 years before you're getting to where you really want to be. And I also I talked to quite a few of those people, and I never found one that was happy, which kind of told me it may not have been the correct path. Um, and I think there was always something like any entrepreneur or early executive at a startup. You tend to look at the options out there and say like these don't work for me. And it's not necessarily for me that like I wanted to be like a member of an early company, but it was just kind of like I didn't have a choice. For me, it was always wanting to. I didn't like conformity. I didn't like having to do what people told me to do. And I think when I hit college, I was kind of sick of that in general. Like I was sick of the idea that you had to spend 10 to 20 years doing things for other people to get where you needed to go.
Yeah. So we're seeing some of the themes emerge. So good. Um, so you switch things up, kind of, instead of going down the financial path, and then I've seen some of the previous organizations. An interesting one called Whipsnake. So take us through. I guess that was in around 18, but take us through, like, kind of the getting into the tech space, and what about the tech space attracted you, or what was it?
Sure. So it was actually I would imagine like many other people that end up in tech. Ultimately, it was accidental. Basically, at the time, way back when I was playing poker and also kind of a quantitative trader for my own account. And then basically, I had quite a few friends, and one of them was starting this company that was basically in telehealth for servicing patients who wanted to connect to psychologists online, and they were looking for someone to be a head of growth, which is kind of a fancy word for like new age marketer. And um, at the time that basically I didn't have any credentials for it, but they said, well, given your background and your kind of quantitative bent, like this is going to be a good job for you. And so I decided to try it out, and I ended up loving it. So I love the idea of running advertisements. I love the idea of watching customers go through a funnel and generally like helping people connect to services that really help them. And then I made one of the worst career decisions of my life, which I'm sure there will be many. And I decided to start a marketing agency, which I found rapidly was within a year I found like in terms of searching for freedom, if you want freedom, the worst thing you can possibly do is start a marketing agency where you end up having 100 bosses versus one.
Wow.
And but then after that, I ended up basically joining Documo, and that's about 3 years ago. And since then, I've been a head of growth, I've been a chief revenue officer, and now I'm the president.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think there's a theme, and I didn't get a chance to dig into all of the businesses in the background, but going back to telehealth, and it's very strong mission, very clear mission of what you're trying to accomplish there, through technology. But if you go up on the Documo site, you guys have a pretty clear mission statement about what you're all about. Kind of a two different elements of that mission statement, right? One is change how the world works with documents, and then help save our planet at the same time, right? Or in the process. And so it seems like, being mission oriented or mission driven is a theme that you've had throughout your career.
It's very important to me. I think that if you can find something that you're good at and you also enjoy doing, like that's the magic. Because again, I found out that you can go down these financial paths where you're doing something that may be very lucrative and you might be good at, but it's soulless and you feel like you die inside every day you're working in. And I think that in our case, like we're really doing something to help people. I think that many of the MSPs and platforms we partner with to resell our product are helping their end users. And I think there's this group of folks that think like, well, technology has got to be this top-ended thing where you're developing like laser-powered space robots that change the planet or something. But a lot of the times, technology is taking industries that maybe have not adopted it and just moving them forward slightly, and that actually ends up having like the largest impact on the baseline person. Which within healthcare, at least with the documents we're dealing with, and the planet, as far as like using paper for documents, is still an amazing amount of paper that's used. I think more every year. There's certainly a major difference we're able to have through leverage partnerships here.
Wow. So how did you end up at Documo? I mean, what was kind of the jumping on point with them? And I guess that was maybe just before COVID or right around COVID.
It was just before COVID, and we were
Mhm.
actually fully remote before it was cool. But yeah, I had a mutual poker buddy who introduced me to the two founders of this company who were also into poker, and essentially at the time they were looking for a guy to come in and help with the marketing side, which was something I had done in the past. Yeah, and it works pretty much immediately. Like the industry we're in is somewhat legacy, so like there's a few incumbent players that tend to dominate the space, and they tend to be very, much less friendly to MSPs and partners than we are. Like if I were to say like the one edge we've had above all else is that we tend to be very friendly in fax technology towards partners and MSPs. And I was able to come in and really look at the marketing plan and really I think improve it quite a bit.
Awesome. So you guys were a fully remote organization. I guess what, if any, did COVID or being fully remote at that point, did that have any impact on the business, or was that a catalyst, or is it, what you guys learn through that process?
COVID from a business perspective helped us.
Mm.
I think that it drove a lot of adoption. So, like the last thing you wanted to do during COVID is, walk to a fax machine and touch a machine that everyone else was touching.
Right.
So it actually drove a lot of the paperless technologies we're seeing, like, not just Documo, of course, like the whole tech industry was driven by it. But in our case, it was the first few weeks of it was very uncertain how it was
Mhm.
going to impact anyone. But then as you saw the trends unfolding, like within a month or two, it was like the demand for our product and similar products like just went through the roof.
That's awesome. And then you guys have carried that forward quite a bit. I mean, you guys have you actually mentioned it, right? The dedication to the channel and how you guys have gone to market is quite a bit different than your legacy providers out there. And so can you kind of touch on that? And again, is that, I guess, core tenet, core principle of how you guys go to market? And
Absolutely. So I would say, it's if you're trying to disrupt a regular industry, you have to play a different game than the one that they're playing, because like likely the incumbents in the industry you're going into are playing the game that they're used to very well.
Mm.
In our case, the incumbents are large, multi-billion-dollar companies in many cases, and they tend to have a very, I would say, antiquated way of selling, which is like to say, I'm going to lock you into a 3-year contract. You're going to talk with my enterprise AE for a month before we give you access to the demo. If we give you access to the demo, it's going to be this weird, like, crippled version of it. And like, if you don't commit to a straight off the bat $100,000 annual contract, you don't even get access.
Wow.
We've, from a go-to-market perspective, viewed it very differently. So we're a very product-oriented company. The term would be product-led growth, and the idea is that we have a sales team to help assist with the process, and certainly with MSPs, like, help people get the lay of the land. But really, the product is the key driver for making the purchase decision, not the strength of our presentation skills or wearing a suit.
Right. Yeah, it works. The go to market and the product works. And yeah, it's funny. Like just some of the industries, the long established industries, and I guess it's hard to change a dinosaur, right? But they're stuck, right? And then you have, great technology vendors come in and change it up, and they're solving a problem more effectively, more efficiently, and it's about collaboration versus just locking you into long term. And it's amazing that a lot of those groups are still so antiquated, right, in their approach.
Well, and it's not necessarily like there's two sides to this coin. Like, there's a technology argument, there's an adoption argument. Like, most folks know, most organizations know at this point that they need to adopt paperless technologies. Like, it's the way of
Mhm.
the future, especially for healthcare industries that
Yeah.
require HIPAA compliance and audit trails and things. That's practically impossible to do with paper-based technologies, like, unless you're just writing down where you're taking the paper each time. Um, so like there is an argument to be made that, like, the adoption is the technology sometimes. And in
Mhm.
our case, like, just making it so the people that need to make the decision are unencumbered in that decision pathway. So for MSPs, that means giving them a white label demo platform to play with, use at their own time, make their own decisions with. For platforms, that means giving them, like, pretty open end access to our API to test and play with it. And that's very, I'd say, antithetical to companies that have sales forces of 100 plus sellers who have to sell in a certain way just because that's their sales force, how their sales force works.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think one of the things was poking around here earlier on the site is, you know, you guys have a dedicated, partner section on the site, and that's another thing that's kind of rare, especially with some of the legacy groups, is that you walk very systematically, the partner, the MSP or reseller, what have you, through a process of how it works, and showing it's a path to profitability and collaboration. So I think that kind of approach and that white label in mind and the support that you guys provide, I think it's it's pretty novel. I mean, and the vendors that do that in this space are often the ones that scale and outpace the other vendors in this space. And so you guys are certainly on the right track with that for sure. So let's kind of take a peek forward, right? So you guys have scaled amazingly well, right? You guys dialing in kind of the mission and in the channel model. What do you guys look like in 3 years? And it's a big open-ended question, but what do you guys specifically? Is there evolutions in technology? Is there different approaches? Where are you guys going?
I'll start, and this will, in a roundabout way, answer it. I'll start with kind of how we see document workflow, and in general how we see this going. So I think a healthy way to think of document workflow in technologies like fax is, it's every document in some way is a decision. So you're not casually sending documents, especially within healthcare or legal or finance, just for fun. Like, if you were going to do it for fun, you wouldn't use certainly fax to do it. And as a result, many of the most critical decisions of your life and my life are made through fax transmissions. Most people will have no idea that, like, for instance, fax still to date grows, I think, 5 to 10% a year on average, for a technology that many of you people should think shouldn't exist. Um, and tends to drive a lot of, like, again, the largest decisions within your life. I think Documo lining up towards that means that we are in the future helping people enable these decisions quicker, faster, um, more accurately and with less costly in terms of like humans having to work within it. And as a result, like how I see us moving in the future is we have a fax product. We're currently developing a classification slash OCR product to classify these faxes. And I think with the end goal to enable decisions by healthcare, financial, legal, to make better, higher quality decisions with less effort. Um, and like I think a lot of fax companies are doing this. So they're saying, well, our partners are demanding OCR and classification, so we're going to do it. But it's kind of like this half-baked implementation. It's like
Mhm.
a bolted-on version that isn't really like coordinating with the fax system. And as a result, like the adoption by the end users is very poor because
Mhm.
it's like they can't understand how to integrate it into these things. Our vision with classification and OCR is it's like a step towards getting towards a more guided decision process for the documents that fax processes and other document processes.
It's obviously it's been vital in regulated industries, right? And you're talking about HIPAA and healthcare, and then obviously there's really strong use cases and legal and requirements around that. I guess any other kind of verticals or any other areas that are common or people need to be thinking about with areas of optimization?
It's certainly the regulated industries are the vast majority. So I would say like again, fax is at least our core competency, which is in fax. You're never sending a casual fax. It's always because it's some critical need that you absolutely have to use the fax for.
Right.
And within that, I would say like our volume is probably 95% represented by the regulated industries. I would say fundamentally, like for us, I think one of the critical things is that we really focus on what we're good at and not necessarily like branch out to too many industries all at once. Like many of the MSPs we work with, for instance, specialize with working directly with hospitals or
Mhm.
healthcare or financial firms. I think where companies get in trouble is when they start to say like, "I'm going to serve everyone," and as a result, like the product gets so watered down. Like if all we were to do, for instance, is we create an excellent fax product, which we have, and then we attach a really excellent OCR product specifically for healthcare, such that they're getting outcomes better, faster, uh, and cheaper than any other one else. Like we have succeeded wildly, and I think our customers have too.
Yeah. Is there a lag in adoption from an MSP standpoint? Are there things that the MSPs could be doing or looking into or should be thinking about? Again, specifically relating to their healthcare customers and legal compliance, regulated customers. But is it one of these things that just they're not thinking about it, or they are thinking about it, or how are there ways to increase adoption of these types of solutions?
Absolutely. And one reframe I like to do, and I actually did a talk on this about a month ago, is a lot of MSPs are kind of I would say put off because the initial value of fax seems lower in comparison to the other offerings. So if you're an MSP and you're selling VoIP or you're selling IT services, like fax seems like this cherry to the sundae, with the sundae being vastly larger than the cherry. The thing with fax though, and I would say it's a distinct value prop for MSPs, is if you do it well, uh, customers tend to trust you on everything else you do because it tends to be the hardest piece, I would say, of the communications puzzle. Um, it's the piece where if it doesn't work, your customers are going to hate you and view everything else you do as poor. And if it does work, they tend to view everything else as like as an excellent add-on to it. With respect to that, like where fax is really valuable to MSPs is that they can get incredible retention and just organic growth rates off of it. So with our customer base, for instance, we see year over year growth of about 25% in usage across our customer base. Granted, we're making bets with typically platforms that grow fast, but it's this incredibly sticky product tied to a phone number that tends to be very like amplifying towards the rest of your product stack. Um, as far as getting adoption, a lot of companies, a lot of end users are somewhat resistant to it because let's face it, if you're in a regulated industry and what you've done has worked decently well for a while, like your risk equation here is a little bit inverted. Like if you make the change to CloudFax and it weren't to work, you're you're risking your job, and if it does work, you might be getting like, what, a 15-20% improvement on your current process. Um, I would say the hardest part about selling it is typically convincing people that the risk is very low and that it will absolutely enhance their workflow and enhance their day-to-day quality of life. And it's larger than simply like having to go pick up a fax from a machine or getting off fax servers. It's really getting to the point where you can you can make this process that was formerly a burden a huge value add and an incredibly area of efficiency for that used to be just incredibly painful.
Yeah. One area obviously you see how tightly integrated and these things just make sense together. But, e-signature, right? To your point, like the world's, we're trying to get to a paperless state, right? And a lot of that is, dealing with e-signatures and making things easier. And I still find that there's so many solutions out there that just make it painful for some reason. I'm not sure.
I don't know why. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people, and I would say in general, a lot of people that make UX-based products, like products where you have to log into them and use them, for
Mhm.
whatever reason, like they either look like they've designed it from like 1995, or like they've never had to use their own product, which is total insanity. Whereas we tend to view we try to tend to use it ourselves, so it's like we sure as hell want to make sure it's good. And easy to use and intuitive. And I would say, as far as adoption lag, one of the other things that we notice with, I would say, these more legacy places is you have to make it so it's simple and intuitive so that the average person can use it, which we really work towards. Whereas again, a lot of the legacy folks, their platform doesn't look like it's been updated in like 30 years.
Yeah, it's we're doing a project with the state of Maryland, and we had to use another fax system that they were using, this particular group, and it was the most infuriating process. I mean, it was mind-boggling how just there's a one-page document that we had to get over them, and it took me 2 hours, at least 2 hours. I was sitting here thinking, like, how could this be? 2023, and it's this painful. So yeah, I don't know. I try not to run try not to express my feelings or opinions about different solutions or industries on this. And it's not about me, but it's hard not to project because it's like having experienced it with these legacy solutions. It's like, holy crap! Like this, thank God you guys are here making it easier for everyone. My goodness.
Well, I would say one of my talents is like I get incredibly frustrated with bad software very fast. So like, and I've used platforms like that where to do seemingly the simplest task, like something that should take you 1 minute, takes you 30 minutes and like research and searching these arcane forums to figure out how to work it. Like, and that's just something I'd say philosophically at Documo where we've tried to solve, because there's no reason in 2023 that you should have software where it takes you, 4 days to figure out how to log in.
Yeah, I was absolutely baffled and perplexed. But anyway, so you guys are just out there just kicking butt. What's the best way to engage with you, your team? Are you out on social? How active are you on social? Can we can the industry engage with you on social and not harass you, but engage with you on social?
Oh, they can certainly harass me. Yeah, so I would say the best way is just go to our site. So either documo.com or our fax product it calls mfax.io. Also, too, you can reach out to me. My name is Shane Fitch, and I'm on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me. And yeah, I mean, absolutely reach out to us. Like we absolutely love talking to MSPs. We love talking to partners of all types. We're not going to be like the legacy vendors that look at you as being worth nothing. Like we seriously do invest in the community and certainly invest even in the smallest MSP. We know that like one of the reasons I think we've done so well is that we have really focused on people that maybe to other companies are not significant, but to us they absolutely are. Um, so yeah, so please reach out. Like you won't bother me certainly if we can help in any way. Yeah, and we're excited. Like I would say, like we're making a push this year to be more active on the marketing side. I think to date we've really focused on just building an excellent product, which I think is the correct order of operations versus building, I'd say, like high claims marketing and a really aggressive sales team. I'd rather have it the opposite way where people are finding us. But we are going to get more active, I'd say, on social. But for now, I'd say go to the website and/or reach out to me.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I love the branding. Like, big believer in the last couple of companies that I've started. It was about having the right product and quality, and but it's all about simplicity and in the product and the usability of the product. But then it also starts with the website, right? And starts with the branding and how do you communicate and the messaging, and that's one of the things I really appreciate, and kind of going through the site, understanding kind of where you guys are, what you guys do, and the products. I think that translates through all the way to the usability of the solutions. So whatever you guys are doing on the market side, you're doing a great job. So keep it up there.
Appreciate that.
Well, look, I mean, it's been great. I know it's early in the day for you there. Talk about all the stuff you've got going on, all the scale, all the growth. I appreciate you guys taking a couple minutes out of your day to chat with us here and the community, and we'll absolutely try to drive some clicks and traffic your way and encourage the community to check you guys out.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kevin. I really enjoyed the talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining
All
me.
right. Thank you.